Hi guys, this is Crossy from Eclipse Gaming TV, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about Classic Offensive. Now, what is Classic Offensive? In a nutshell, it is basically a mod for CSGO so that you can get the feel of 1.6, so the graphics, the gameplay, the bullet registration, the having to go and buy your ammo like you used to way back in the day, and it's kind of got the feel of 1.6. Similar kind of thing to what, well, kind of like what ProMod tried to do way back in the day of Source, like try to take Source graphics and combine it with 1.6 registration, which didn't work out that well. Now, I haven't played Classic Offensive, which I'm going to throw out there now, and there's a reason for it, which I'll explain to you. I don't plan on doing too much commentary work in the early part of 2017. If the offers come up, I'll take them, but long story short, a few months ago I was involved commentating the grand final of a fairly major tournament, a couple of thousand views, full professional TV crew, and to be honest, people like to get after UK commentators, and they didn't really. There wasn't too much negative feedback, which is a bonus in itself, and you know, felt fairly pleased with my performance on it. But one comment got me, and that comment was, I would like things to be a little more insightful from the commentators. And that's a very good point, because there have been a lot of times where I've played Counter-Strike competitively and was playing in teams and the like, so having things to talk about as far as the analysis, that was easy. But in recent years, because of time, other commitments, etc., I haven't played that often. So is my analysis a little off? Do I maybe not know what it's like playing competitively these days? Well, that is a very big point. And since then I've kind of hit the trenches and started playing Counter-Strike more than I have done in years to try and improve on that. Now, it's very tempting to then go and kind of give up on the struggle, because it is a struggle. I'm having some real issues trying to play, and I'm playing with some guys that I've played with for probably 5-6 years on and off, and I would be surprised if they start getting bored of carrying me going forward, as I'm having plenty of personal struggles with the game. So is it tempting to go and drop something that's unfamiliar for something that is much more familiar from when I started playing back in 2005 and have a go at Classic Offensive? Yeah, of course it is. I would love to go back to the days of Source when I had all the answers, which I don't currently in CSGO, and go and drop some half decent scores again, rather than be fighting for the or just to keep off the bottom spot. I would love to do that, but I'm not going to. And I think this is the problem. Classic Offensive is set up for players that are in this grind. They're struggling with CSGO. They haven't got the answers like they used to. They're kind of trying to work on their game, and they're hitting brick walls, and it's very tempting to go and drop it to try and play something like Classic Offensive, and I don't blame them for that whatsoever. But that is the reason why I personally am not going to be making the jump, because I've still got so much work I need to do on my CSGO game to get to any kind of half decent level that I'm happy with, that I don't want to be splitting my time onto something else that's going to give me some false confidence. And also I want to touch on, is this the answer? Are people going to start jumping on this big start? And the answer is no, not really. The people that will be the people that haven't got the time to put into CSGO to get to the level that they want to. People like me who are working 40 hours a week. One of the guys that I'm playing with at the moment, who has just recently, about a week ago, had a newborn little boy, that's going to take up a lot of his time, and he's kind of in the same boat as me, struggling to get back to that regular form. But luckily for him, he can get himself some frags a lot easier than I seem to be at the moment, which is a bit of a bonus. But there's always that frustration when you know that you used to have more in the tank and you just can't get back to it because you're not putting enough hours in, because you can't, because you've got other commitments, and it does become quite a frustrating thing going forward. So yeah, this is set up for a different market from the competitive level. This is people that, for one reason or another, can't get to that level, don't want to get to that level, aren't willing to put in the time because of other commitments, that sort of thing, which is great, and I'm sure it will get a good community feel, and get enough people wanting to play it jump on for a bit of interest, that kind of thing. But it's not going to take off big style. This is not the future. And the reason it's not the future is because Valve haven't made it, long story short. Back in the days of Call of Duty, you see people talking about, oh, we'd love to see the old Call of Duty 4 back. The reason Call of Duty 4 worked out pretty well is because the maps had kind of a competitive feel for them. They were at the right kind of size and the way that it was all set up. COD 4 made sense, number one. And then the second thing, Pro Mod was allowed to happen. So they were able to create Pro Mod, same thing with COD 2, and it was allowed to go into the game and be used competitively, and Infinity Ward didn't go and just patch it out to make sure that that couldn't happen. So one way or another, we had two companies. Infinity Ward were a company, and then Pro Mod were a group of modders that put this thing together to make the game even better for competitive play, and it worked. It worked really well. It's kind of like Z-Block used to work back in the days of Source. It was like an add-on that helped, and Valve didn't try too hard to patch the thing out of the game, and it just made sense. It just improved the whole experience from a competitive front. This time around, even though Valve aren't stopping this thing from happening, there is no way that they're going to put any kind of widespread support behind this because of the amount of money that's gone into it. When you look at a major and you're using the word million when it comes to prize pool, then there's no way they're going to scrap all of this and say let's go for a big push on Classic Offensive, because it is just too big. The big teams are going to get behind this. The tier 1 teams are never going to support Classic Offensive. They might post up one video on their channel where they go and have a play for 20 minutes, and that will be all. They're not going to put the time into it. They're not going to commit anything to it. There'll be no funding committed to it by anyone that has the money. People saying, oh, there's loads of money in esports. Well, no, there's a load of money at the top level of esports, and then everyone else, well, you might be able to get a bit of gear, but no cold hard cash. So the people that are putting the money into Counter-Strike in a big way at the top level, again, not going to get on board with this thing. So it is just going to be a nice thing to have around, a probably unwanted distraction really for people that are trying to get their game on, maybe just haven't been able to put the time in, or took a step away and went to deal with their real life for a little while and then looking to make their comeback. Might be tempted to jump on a Classic Offensive, and I would suggest that's probably not a good move. That's a backward step for you, more often than not, which is the reason I'm not going for it. Are we going to see big competitions, big prize money? No, because Valve aren't going to put the money into it. You look in the UK at what Multiplay are starting to put into prize pools now. It's taken way longer than it should have done, but the UK Masters is a sign of what is now starting to happen. The UK Premiership from ESL is starting to get some legs on it. There is more competitions coming, to the point where UK teams are having to look at their schedules and thinking they might have to sit out one of these tournaments, because the schedule is starting to look pretty ram-packed with good competitive Counter-Strike action. This is just in the UK. And then you start stepping out into mainland Europe and you look at what options you've got there. LAN events, competitions, minors, majors. There's so much good stuff and so much money now starting to float around in Counter-Strike that there is no way these people are going to take a step back and say, maybe Classic Offensive is the future. Because it's not. There is no way. Everyone is too invested in Counter-Strike Global Offensive as it is. And yeah, okay, it's got some problems. We always know that. They'll bring out a new patch, they'll break something, they'll change the registration, they'll change the way that things play. This comes with the territory. The meta changes, a new map comes out. For example, Inferno was a very, very heavily T-sided map when it came out, and what's happening now? CT sides are starting to push, they're starting to get more aggressive, they're starting to play it in a different way. Suddenly now, Inferno, it's starting to feel more CT-sided, and it's starting to feel less like, let's just sit back really passive on the site. It was a T-sided map People are starting to work on the CT side of it to develop it and change it and make it different. It's an evolving game in itself, just purely in the way that it is. People look for new ways to deal with problems. And that's kind of what's exciting about Counter-Strike. You know, when I started, it was January 2005 when I started. Dust 2 was a very heavily CT-sided map. The whole idea on T-side, stepping into a site and trying to make a pick. Nah. The only picking that happens is like the mid-AWP battle. Aside from that, no picking. We just like push a site en masse. And this is the way that it goes. And then what happened from that point? You know, people are sitting there on T-side thinking, this should be our future. We're not just going to barrel into a site and get mowed down. What's the point of that? Let's try and make some picks somewhere. And then the game evolves. And now the whole idea of, alright, let's go and get some picks and let's take mid-control. That is the standard for T-side and has been for X number of years since then. And, you know, people just learn to play it a different way and things develop and things move on. So, yes, Classic Offensive, it looks great. I can't deny that. And I could easily go and invest 3-4 hours getting a couple of mixes together with some mates. And that would be a very tempting thing to do. But by choice, I've decided that I'm not going to. And I kind of want to go out and say maybe you guys should think about doing the same, which is a bit harsh because, I mean, it's a great thing that's been done. It really is. You know, hands up. Good job, bro, for putting this thing together. It really is an enjoyable thing, and I'm sure people will get a lot of fun out of playing it and a lot of kicks, and you know, that should be commended. But when you actually look at this, is anyone going to get behind it from a spectator standpoint, really? Is there anyone that's going to be a big enough name that's going to play this competitively for long enough that we're going to be able to get any kind of big viewership tournaments going? No, I don't think so. If someone asked me to commentate a Classic Offensive event, I'd be all over it, but I would be surprised if we got 100 viewers for it. That's just the way of things. People are too invested in other things now, in Global Offensive, and yeah, I think it should stick that way, to be completely honest. The prize pools are growing. More people are putting their money where their mouth is as far as Global Offensive goes, even if you're just talking at UK level. This is progress, this is a step in the right direction, and we need to keep pushing on with that. Having something else trying to split people's attention, not necessarily for the best, and I think that because so much is being invested now, that's not going to happen. So yeah, Classic Offensive, it's a nice thing. It's kind of like a game that you buy for a couple of quid off of Steam and get a few mates together and have a game once in a blue moon when you get bored of Counter-Strike or the servers go down or something like that, which is great in itself, but it's not the future for anyone, I don't really think, apart from people that haven't been able to cut it at any kind of competitive level, and instead of trying to push through it, have given up. And I'm sorry, but yeah, it's kind of got to be said. So hopefully for you guys that have taken your step away from the grind to play some Classic Offensive, you'll get it out of your system, and then within a couple of weeks make the step back and just jump on it once in a blue moon. But who knows? I'd like to hear your thoughts though. Drop something in the comment section, give the video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. As far as the channel goes, I know activity's been on the low side as always. I apologise for that. Long story short, there is something in the pipeline which should be going up probably within the next month if it all comes together, which is going to involve another channel and the like. So things might go a little quiet here, but at least there'll be somewhere where you'll be able to get content that I'm working on. At least that's the plan. I'll give you more information when that happens, and you never know, if I'm getting more into a routine of recording on a regular basis, maybe I'll be able to get some more content on this channel that doesn't fit with the other thing, but who knows. So more stuff coming, and I will give you a video to explain that as and when it happens. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and catch you next time.